The 2026 FIFA World Cup in USA, Canada, and Mexico has shaped up very interestingly. Of course, we've seen a lot of controversial moments and wild moments. Remember, in the opening week, there was that incident that happened in North Carolina, which was the camp of the German national team. What was the incident? It was a snake incident that happened in their camp. And of course, it brought a lot of talking points to the eyes of the media. And Norway's Christian Thorstvedt, talking about the midfielder for the Norwegian national team,
came out to the media.
He said he was not happy at all at the incident that was happening. It was discovered that the same location was the training location for the Norwegian national side. So there was a snake invasion at the start of the World Cup tournament. Yes, that one has gone by. Going to the Swiss prank. Now, there was a prank by the Swiss national team to the Swiss media press. So it was a gag, actually, at talking about snake invasion, which was not the case at the end of the day. So, the Swiss national team, they were about to cause a ruckus in the eyes of the media, which happened also. That happened not so long after the snake invasion we saw in North Carolina. Now to the Mexico national team. A duck was named the official mascot for the Mexico national team. And funny and interestingly so, the name of the duck was Merlin. I don't know if you watched that series some years back, Merlin, and we know what happened. It was, of course, it was a magical show, and rather a series right there where we saw Arthur Pendragon, this and that, kingdoms here and there. But speaking of kingdoms, the Norwegian national team, they have been maybe by far the most interesting, and in the eyes of the media, we saw midfielder Martin Odegaard leading the national team, and of course the fans and supporters who came all the way. The Vikings are here and they've arrived. If you've watched a lot of Viking series like Vikings Valhalla and etc., you know that the Vikings, there's something that's always common to them. That is, they are almost always at sea. And we saw the drum beats by Martin Odegaard leading the line for them on the pitch after their match. So, of course, we've seen the Norwegian contingent. They've arrived. It's looking interesting at this point in time. No doubt, the World Cup has been very interesting. A lot of controversies here and there surrounding, of course, the player detailing to camp ongoings and, of course, on-pitch events. Now to the next point. 40-year-old Cape Verde keeper, talking about Vozinha, became a sensation and a viral sensation at that overnight. Because at the start of the World Cup tournament, he had about 500,000 Instagram followers. Now at this point in time, being the hero, one of the heroes for Cape Verde, talking about the African team, he has now had over 14 million followers on Instagram. This came after a sensational moments that he had. Of course, a couple of saves, interesting saves for his national side. And the more interesting story was that his mother, after the interview, Vozinha mentioned growing up, and of course in Cape Verde, how it was very tough for men to actually go through the ranks and make it in football. And at the age of 40-year-old, he was crying to the media, speaking to the fact that his mom could not travel because of some issues that they had, particularly with travel restrictions. And the most interesting story that happened at the end of that interview was that the United States of America started the visa processing, of course, single entry visa for his mother, talking about the mother of Vozinha, and she finally made it to the United States of America to watch her son, Vozinha, play at the World Cup and start as the #1 keeper for Cape Verde. So interesting story right there, light at the end of the tunnel for Cape Verde, and of course for Vozinha, becoming a viral sensation at the end of the day. So another point we're looking at the World Cup so far in the United States of America, Canada, and Mexico. Next, what is going on with the Scottish national team? Because it's looking like there's no more wine, there's no more alcohol at this point. We used to think that the Germans were hard drinkers. You know, Germany always celebrates. They even have a national celebration day where everyone goes out in their regalia or their attire and they take on the beer. Beer is even more cheaper than water in Germany. But at this point in time, we're seeing something from the Scottish national team, because at some point during the World Cup event, they were out of alcohol. This was the same alcohol that had a lot of controversy in the World Cup in 2022 in Qatar because of Qatar restrictions. Of course, we know how it is with the religion, and of course, it was allowed later on for the World Cup tournament in Qatar in 2022. But as it stands, they are trying so hard, the brewery companies are trying so hard, Budweiser and Co, they're trying so hard to catch up with the drinking of the Scottish national team. And it was very interesting because off the pitch you score Scottish sensation who could not make it to the World Cup, talking about Billy Gilmore, the midfielder for Napoli. He came on, and of course, he had a baseball tournament where he came onto the pitch and threw a baseball. And to the expectations of the Scottish fans who came to watch a particular baseball tournament for their nation, we saw that the trumpeters, the Scottish traditional trumpeters with their regalia, talking about their skirts, they were all around. Of course, notwithstanding the weather at the United States of America, they marched on about a mile to go watch that particular tournament. So, a lot of things happening at the World Cup in 2026, Canada, Mexico, and the United States of America. A lot of controversial moments. Which one was your most controversial moment? For me, I think it has to do with the snake invasion, particularly the Swiss national team pulling a prank on the Swiss media. So all things being equal, the World Cup has not less than a month to go at this point in time. We know that this is the extended version with 48 teams. But some teams have been knocked out, some nations have been knocked out. Turkey has been knocked out at this point in time. Tunisia, they've been knocked out of the competition from the group stage. Of course, we're all to look for in Group A. South Africa likely going to be out at the group stage. Mexico going through, no doubt about it. So, what has been a controversial moment in the World Cup 2026? For me, like I mentioned, it has been with the snake event that happened in North Carolina for the German national team. And of course, the prank pulled by the Swiss national team. Let's hear from you in our comment section. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe our videos. And always remember to turn on notifications for updates as regards to the World Cup in 2026. And of course, other sporting genres across the world.